Again, I want to apologize for the wait. I'm having some sort of a technical difficulty on my end, and so I'm just going to go ahead and bottom line the information for you today. It's all very, very good news in my opinion. So I'm not going to belabor the issue. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today's July 1st, and there's a lot going on in Washington, D.C., and there's a lot going on in Iraq. They seem to be working collaboratively, which is very, very good news. Let me start very briefly with President Trump. Of course, he's, I would suspect, a Denarian himself by some of the things that he's done. One of the things that he's done is he's neutralized Iran. And, of course, as you know, Iran has been an impediment for the progress in Iraq for literally decades, and that no longer seems to be a problem. He's also purged Iraq's pro-Iranian officials as well. For example, a Prime Minister Soudani is gone, replaced by al-Zaidi, a millionaire banker, businessman. CBI Governor Alak is also gone, replaced by Nizar Hussain, who was head of the Anti-Money Laundering and Counterterrorism Office. The cabinet of Iraq now, which did have some pro-Iranian members, has been purged. The parliament also, the coalition framework, had done everything they can to be an impediment to the progress on the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. And over the last 7 to 10 days, a number of them have been arrested, hoarding currency. So there's a lot going on. Remember, what we've needed for all of this time is constantly referred to as security and stability, and Iran has been an impediment to both. So we're making very, very good progress to the point where, in my humble opinion, I think we realistically can see the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar in the month of July, today, of course, being July 1st. So let's talk a little bit more about what's actually going on in Iraq. Important issues in Iraq are the 2026 budget, the hydrocarbon law, and something called the Asakuda system, which has to do with border and customs management. Now, these laws have not been officially passed. However, public statements have been made that for the first time, perhaps ever, that they've agreed upon all of the essentials. Again, this is the 2026 budget, the hydrocarbon law, and the Asakuda system dealing with borders and customs. Now, what do these three things have in common? They need an exchange rate. Now, the oil revenue sharing with the Kurds has also been agreed upon. And now Prime Minister Zaidi is scheduled to visit Washington, D.C. in mid-July. So this being the case, there's no way, in my opinion, that Prime Minister Zaidi is coming to Washington, D.C. without the new exchange rate and a functioning global currency. Now, obviously, that's not something that would be released publicly, and those of us that have currencies understand why that's the case. But we've seen the replacement of the Prime Minister. We've seen the replacement of the CBI governor. We've seen the replacement of the pro-Iranian members of the cabinet. We've seen the coalition framework finally become a minority in parliament. And we've seen the eminent passage of the budget, the HCL, and the Asakuda system. So all of these things point to one thing. Not only does Iraq want a new exchange rate, they need a new exchange rate because none of the new laws function at 1310. They have to have a new exchange rate. And when I say new exchange rate, I'm talking about a Basel-compliant rate. A Basel-compliant rate is a rate of a currency based on the known natural resources in a country and the ability to bring those resources to market. Now, the Iraqi dinar went out of its Basel-compliant rate decades ago, and at that time, it was $3.22. So I'll be conservative and say we can expect to see it at some point reach 322. But in fact of the matter, the improvements in the country, 20 years of inflation, the assistance of the Trump administration, the United States of America, to me tells me that the rate could be substantially higher than 322. But I'm going to be conservative in my estimate and say, let's just get back to 322. Now, those of you that have currencies, whether you purchased 1 million dinar, 10 million dinar, you know what you paid for it. And you know, if you do the math, that if that currency were to come back at $3.22, you've become a quite wealthy individual. And frankly, given the weight and the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, all the complications in the Middle East, not only politically, but religiously in terms of what's going on there, you've patiently waited, and I think that patience is going to pay off. Now, Trusts Unlimited got involved for a very simple reason. Trusts Unlimited's leader is Robert Bly. He's a nationally known author and estate planner. I myself hold degrees in political science, economics, and finance. Bob and I have both been in our respective businesses for over 40 years, so between the two of us, we have about 80 years' experience. And it's really coming to fruition now, because now we have a substantial client base who have established their trust, who have assigned their currencies to that trust, and are about to witness those currencies literally overnight making them millionaires. Unfortunately, for those that have established the trust, they're going to enjoy certain protections that can only be enjoyed through a package of irrevocable trusts such as the one Bob has authored. LLCs won't do it. Sub-S corporations won't do it. Limited family partnerships won't do it. Revocable trusts won't do it. An asset protection trust package, an irrevocable asset protection trust package, is the best protection available, and you had the added advantage of having an asset that you anticipated would increase in value and have assigned that currency to the trust package. Now, if you are a holder of these currencies and you have not contacted us to get our initial package, I strongly suggest you do so. I will be giving you that contact information in a minute. But when you review the benefits of that package, which I'm going to summarize here briefly for you, you will understand if you have taken the time to do your homework, to purchase the dinar and some of these other currencies, if you have patiently waited for those currencies to reinstitute, you need to take one more step, and that's to protect that wealth for yourself and your family. I'm going to briefly review for you the benefits of establishing this trust package, all of which you will not enjoy without the establishment of this trust package. First, you are going to protect your privacy and your anonymity. That's because the assets within this trust package are sealed. And absent losing a civil suit, those assets will remain sealed. Now, there's something called choice of law, meaning that you can utilize the laws of other states, whether you live in those states or not. So in establishing our trust package, Robert Bly decided to use the statutes available in the state of Wyoming because, in his opinion, and having done my homework, I completely agree. The state of Wyoming is going to provide the best asset protection available to you. Second, this trust package will allow you to avoid personal IRS scrutiny. Now, what I mean by that is, once you acquire this wealth, you're not acquiring this wealth as a private individual. This wealth is being acquired through the trust of which you are the beneficiary. And this is a very complicated, for obvious reasons, trust package. When the IRS decides who they're going to audit post facto, are they going to audit Joe Blow, who has currencies and they're unprotected, he owns them in direct title, or is he going to audit someone that has a very sophisticated trust package like us? Well, he's going to audit the individual. The third benefit is this trust will allow you to avoid gift taxes by gifting currencies to friends and family pre-RV. But especially if you're going to gift to children, individuals that really cannot manage the money for themselves. We've established a special gift sub-trust within this package. You have your master trust that will hold financial assets, like bank accounts, investment accounts. You have your sub-trusts, which will hold individual assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. But Trusts Unlimited through Robert Bly has created a special gift sub-trust. This allows you to gift currencies to family and friends, and at the same time gives you control of the post-RV proceeds. Now, you can gift currencies to individuals and do little or no management of those assets post-RV. But if you have individuals that, for whatever reason, are completely incapable of managing a substantial amount of money, or if you're gifting to minors, you have control of the post-RV proceeds for their benefit. Now, this trust package will also allow you to avoid the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. Probate is the process that one must go through when an estate is transferred to heirs. Now, the reason probate's not going to be an issue here is because there's no transfer of the estate. The estate is owned by the trust. When the settlor, the creator of the trust, passes away, it still remains in trust. It's just that the beneficiaries change. And because the assets are retained by the trust and remain with the ownership of the trust, you've bypassed the cost and delay of probate. In addition, probate taxes can be as much as 55% of the entire estate. But because you have avoided probate, you've avoided the federal estate tax, which means that your heirs will receive 100 cents on the dollar. Last benefit here that's of importance is preeminent asset protection. Should you be sued, the only thing that you could be sued for would be the value of the currencies at the time of the transfer. The post-RV value is a completely different transaction and affair. So you would only be sued for the value of the currencies at the time of the transfer. So, for example, if you had 10 million dinar that you paid $10,000 for, you transfer them to the trust. Many years later, or several years later, the currencies reinstitute. You can't be sued for the value post-RV. You can be sued for the value of the currencies at the time of the transfer. So for all of these reasons, establishing your asset protection trust package is probably the most important thing you can do next to your decision, your wise decision to purchase these pre-RV currencies. A lot of individuals over the years have told me that they've been chided by friends and family members for purchasing dinar and other currencies, that they've been chided over the years for retaining those currencies since they have as yet not reinstituted and revalued globally. Well, now we're on the threshold of the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, and in the not-too-distant future, in my opinion, some other currencies as well. But you have the added benefit of having transferred the ownership of those currencies to this asset protection trust package. So it's going to be the best of both worlds for you. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts that consist of one master trust that will hold your financial assets like these currencies and then manage the sub-trusts. Among the sub-trusts, one, of course, is the gift sub-trust, where you'll be gifting currencies to family and friends, and you have the option, if you want, to manage the money for their benefit post-RV. Some of you will, of course, probably transfer the lump sum to these individuals, but if you have a situation where you feel the individual or individuals for whatever reason cannot manage that money for themselves, then you can manage that money for them through the gift sub-trust. And then you have 10 sub-trusts to hold, once again, assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, one of the benefits of this package is something called segregation of assets, meaning that your homes, boats, cars, etc., each of these assets is in a separate sub-trust. So if any one of those assets were ever to get involved in litigation, it would only be that asset within that trust, because the other assets are in separate sub-trusts, which under the law are separate legal entities having nothing whatsoever to do with the litigation in question. So this trust package was designed by our attorney, Robert Bly, specifically to provide protection for individuals who literally will become overnight millionaires and who will be able to then purchase assets, segregate those assets in separate trusts, and do everything possible to minimize any potential loss to litigation. And unfortunately, when people become wealthy individuals, they do become targets of litigation, because litigation involves money, and those people with a lot of money, unfortunately, can become targets. So this trust package was designed to preemptively protect you once these currencies reinstitute. So you're protected pre-RV, you're protected post-RV, you're protected with the transfer of assets to your family when that day comes. And I can't think of any other asset. Once again, LLCs, sub-S corporations, limited family partnerships, individual trusts. I can't think of any individual asset that can provide that level of asset protection. And with the belief, as I have, and as many of you have, because you've called me and you've told me how excited you are, you've had currencies for a long time. There have been times in the past where you thought the reinstitution and revaluation might happen, but over the years you've become circumspect, and so you've been very cautious. But things have changed, and the emails and calls that I get from individuals are very similar. They say, Jim, I think this thing is about to happen. Finally, after all of this time, it's about to happen. Thank God we've got our trust in place, because now that I believe we're about to enjoy this great benefit, we've done everything we can to protect it for ourselves, our children, and our family. As I said, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust and one gift trust and 8 additional sub-trusts. You can add sub-trusts if necessary. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that attorney Robert Bly had established for affluent clients, a trust package that had an initial cost of as much as $10,000. But when the decision was made to make this trust package available to denarians, we knew that most denarians were simply not in a position to afford the cost of such a trust package. And frankly, what funds they did have, they wanted to use to purchase currencies. So the decision was made to market this on a group basis to denarians, and in so doing, we've reduced the cost to $2,500. And I can assure you that the trust that you will receive for that price is a superb benefit to you at a ridiculous price, frankly. And once this reinstitution and revaluation happens, you're going to understand that the dream of having a lot of money and your problems go away is no longer the case, because the problems you had in the past when money was an issue are going to be replaced by the problems you're going to have now, because the management of substantial amount of money can be daunting as well. So it looks as though this long ride is just about over. And so I hope that those of you that have been kind enough to listen today and have not contacted us to get our initial no obligation package will do so. You can review the package. You're going to learn a lot just by reviewing it, but if you have any questions, you can contact us. You're under no obligation to proceed, but if you decide to proceed with the establishment of your asset protection trust package, everything you need is included in the package. Once you send us your application, it'll go immediately to our paralegals for preparation. If you have any additional questions, I'll be happy to contact you, clarify any issues you may have. But it's important that if you make the decision to proceed, you move quickly, because finally, after all of this time, it looks like time is running short, and we're going to be going to the banks to negotiate our exchange. The only issue is, are you going to be going as an individual, or are you going to go as a protected individual with an asset protection trust package? What will happen in that case is that you will negotiate the exchange of the currency, but the USD will not go into a personal bank account. It will go into a trust bank account that will be established that day at that bank as part of the negotiation of the exchange. And so with that, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A. At least I'm having some computer issues. But I'm going to go to the Q&A and see if you have any questions, if I can get the Q&A to function.
Fuck, it's true. Fuck, put silicone on it, went zip. There you go. It didn't leak. I got it back in about 2 weeks. Still wasn't leaking.
Well, it looks like this time I'm going to try one more time to go to the Q&A. If not, we're going to have to sign off. I think the Q&A session's open. If anyone has any questions, I'll wait a few minutes here to see if you have any questions. If not, we'll call it a day. Again, while I'm waiting for any questions, if the things we've discussed are of interest, I strongly suggest you contact us. Go to trusts with an S, unlimited, LLC at gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited, LLC at gmail.com. Let us know you'd like us to send our trust package to you. We'll send it right out to you. You can review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you in any way. Well, it doesn't seem that we have any questions for today. Again, thanks so much for taking the time to listen. I appreciate your patience with this computer glitch that I seem to have here. I can assure you when I get off this call, I'm going to get to my computer people and see if I can resolve this. But thanks so much for listening. Of course, our next call will be scheduled for next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week. God bless.
Okay, I would like to make, Jim, I'd like to make a brief announcement for the benefit of our customers.
Certainly.
We have turned basically made a business decision here to actually get better communication with with our customers. I'm being interrupted here.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
Everyone's on hold.
Okay.
Somebody's sleeping.
In any event, I wanted to make the announcement that effective July the 1st, Trust Unlimited has terminated its phone service. The reason we did this was because we found that, first of all, it was being used to ask questions, leave messages, and sometimes the messages were not being returned. And so we felt that this was a disservice to our customers, and we can just as easily communicate with our customers and potential customers two ways. One, you can go to our website, which is Trust Unlimited LLC .net. I believe that's what it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim.
I believe that's correct.
Okay. You can also, you have a better chance of getting your questions answered if you just contact us directly by email. And our email address is trustunlimitedllc at gmail.com. And that way, that comes up on the screen. Jim can see it, and he can respond to your questions probably in a more efficient and in a more reasonable period of time, so we don't have these situations. People think that we're not returning their calls. So if you call the number, or if a friend of yours or somebody calls the number that you've used and it says the number is no longer in service, then just explain to them that they can reach Trust Unlimited through their email. So thank you very much for your participation today. We're going to try to get this glitch worked out, hopefully so that Jim will be back and able to control the conversation next week. In the meantime, we did record this, and so as soon as we can get this uploaded, it will be on YouTube as it always has been. Again, thank you for your patience and understanding.
One last